Alright, come here. I want to see. This first lab here is a PETN lab. It's a homemade explosive. Pretty simple to do. Inside the receiving flask we have nitric and sulfuric acid. It's in an ice bath because this reaction produces heat. The more heat it produces, it becomes unstable. So you have to keep it cooled down. And this powder is pentaerythritol. It's an additive in some varnishes and paints commercially. Also your transformers on your poles, the cooling oil in transformers, newer ones, it's 1985 I think, when they stopped using PCBs, have pentaerythritol in it. So it can be extracted. Anyway, you mix it, it'll crystallize out, and pour it through a filter. All your trash will settle at the bottom, and your pentaerythritol crystals will be in the top. Let it dry out. It's pretty stable. You make your blasting caps out of it, or what some of them are doing is take Vaseline, heat it up until it melts. You can add the pentaerythritol in it, and strain cornstarch to give it some, basically it thickens it to where it's a putty consistency. And if you have a blasting cap, that's probably the most efficient. But a charcoal or a gas grill igniter will work also. And basically that's a 1 pound block of cornmeal seed basically. And then here is basically a nitroglycerin lab. It's fairly simple. In the bottom you have nitric sulfuric acid, and again it's a cooling bath, and you just slowly drip in the glycerin. Glycerin we bought at Walmart. The acids you can get at Home Depot or whatever. But you slowly drip that in, it'll separate out into there'll be a kind of an oily substance on the bottom with some grayish sludge on the top. The sludge is trash, pour it off, and have your nitroglycerin. You can actually add that to this too. You add it to sawdust. You can take toilet paper or paper towel rolls, mix this with sawdust, and basically make your own sticks of dynamite. So, and all this stuff readily available on the internet as far as how to do it. So that's the problem with the internet. And basically, you start out with Jimson weed or tomato stems and leaves. They soak in acetone at least 24 hours, and then you filter it a couple of times, and it basically just filters the trash out, and your product's in the bottom. Once you get that product, you pour it down through a packed column. Now this yields 3 different drugs. The first one is atropine. It's what's in your Mark 1 nerve agent kits, the auto injectors, and it's also a cardiac drug that's carried in the hospitals or on ambulances. Scopolamine is the second one. It's kind of like a date rape drug. I think they're using it a lot down here, down south of you all. Basically, it affects the mind. Your brain don't create memories when you're on this. The third drug is actually hyoscamine. It's kind of a psychedelic, hallucinogenic type thing. And this packed column is packed with silica, and those 3 drugs have different the size of the molecules are different. And what you do, you pour them in, follow it with an isopropanol alcohol, and it should, if you give it enough time, you'll get a marked line of demarcation. So you can keep pouring out the alcohol, and when your atropine gets through, you set it off to the side. Your scopolamine will be next, and your hyoscamine will be third. But that's basically acetone, alcohol, some tomato stems, and you don't have to do the packed column because the atropine will increase your heart rate, which enhances the effect of the other drugs too. So, but we do this a lot if we're making a sarin lab, a nerve agent lab. The bad guys sometimes make their own antidote with the atropine. So, but basically, the plague's been spread throughout your state for the last week, and this is where the bad guys, quote unquote, are synthesizing the wild testis to weaponize it. So inside the glove box we have some blood tubes and some growth media, and there's some different test tubes and needles and things in there. And behind you is an incubator, a couple petri dishes in there. But basically we just want the CST to get the idea of, hey, we know we have plague in the state, this is where they're growing it at.